I'm Steven. That's E-Rock. And that's Lloyd. And we're from Just Got Played. And we're here to tell you about the favorite game that we played in November. And that can be anything, right? It can be a new game. It can be an old game. You know, don't have to be called to the new, Lloyd. All right. Well, let's get started. And Lloyd, you can start us off.
Oh, boy. Okay, so I played a lot more games this month than I did in October, so I actually had more choices. But I think at the end, I ended up going with, I decided to wear my little summer camp shirt, my Camp Crystal Lake shirt, because I decided to go with Summer Camp by Buffalo Cards and Games, or Puzzles and Games. But what Summer Camp is, it is a deck builder. It's a competitive deck builder. You are kids at summer camp trying to earn 3 merit badges in different activities. So the way the game works is you have a base deck that has standard cards, and then you pick 3 activities to mix in, or not to mix in, but 3 activities that you're going to be competing in. So there'll be 3 separate decks that you're going to use. And then you have your basic cards off to the side that you can also buy. So what you're trying to do is race across the campgrounds to first collect your participation badges. So once all 3 of your little, there's 3 tracks. So you have like a little meeple on each track. And once each of your meeples, all 3 of them get past the first bridge, you get a participation badge. Whoever crosses that bridge first gets the higher point badge. And then once you get past the next set of bridges, you get your achievement badge or award badge, or it's a higher point badge. And again, same thing. All 3 get to cross. Whoever gets there first gets the highest points. In a 4-player game, those 2 spots are limited because there's only 3 badges. So if you're the last one across in a 4-player game, you don't get any points. And then once you make it to the end, each track, whoever gets to the end of that first track, that end track first gets the higher point badge. So you can kind of pick and choose which ones you want to try and rush across. So if you lose out on one, it may come down to start switching up, go for another badge so you can catch up those points. And the game is quick. It's very cutesy. All the artwork looks like it'd become, out of a camper's manual. And it's very quick. It does kind of what Clank does, in that you need to get movement cards, right? Because you got to get across the campgrounds. What I like about it, besides Clank, is that there's a lot more movement cards, and you can play it a lot faster. Clank seems to drag on for way too long, especially if you got shut out of all of the movement cards. It's really hard to get shut out of the movement cards here because you have 2, 4, 6. You have 9 cards to choose from every turn. So it's almost impossible to get shut out of the movement cards. You could get shut out of the high movement cards, but you're always going to be moving. So that was my favorite of November, was Summer Camp.
Cool.
I gotta be honest here, man. Your shirt totally threw me off. I kept waiting for you to tell me when the monster, when you were gonna get attacked. I'm like, I don't understand. You just get merit. When do you get attacked? I don't get it.
Yeah, there have been a lot of summer camp games released recently, and they are all about some slasher going after the campers. Yeah. Right? That is not what's going on here.
No Camp Grizzly or whatever that one is. No, this is just a straight cutesy little game, and it is for what's in the box, right? Because it comes with 1, 2, 3, 4. I think it comes with 9 activities or 10 activities, so you can constantly, mix and match how you want to do it. And each one has, movement cards, but then, like the dodgeball, the activities deck comes with a dodgeball, so you can actually, drawing that card and playing it will hit other people and make them lose cards. And then, like, the cooking one is a little friendlier. So there are some that are more take that than others, so you can kind of gauge how you want to play it based on your play group. So no monsters. It's just trying to get there and get your merit badge and get your participation badges. So.
Cool. Well, Like you, Lloyd, I had a hard time choosing for this month because I went to the Dice Tower retreat. Shout out the Dice Tower. They put on an awesome retreat here in Orlando for the first time. And I played a lot of games. But I had to narrow it down to one. So I narrowed it. I also wore my astronaut shirt because I'm talking about Ra, the ancient Egyptian game. Like, the pyramids were built by spacemen or something. I don't know. Right? Like,
the sun god.
Yeah, right. So there is an ancient Egyptian theme on the game, but really it's it's a Kinesia game, and he has made a lot of auction games, and I think this is regarded as the best one. And and like most auction games, there's set collection involved, right? There has to be a reason why you're trying to get stuff in the auction. And in this game, on your turn, you pull out a tile and you put the tile down on the board. And so it could end up being a series of tiles that are available for the auction. And the tiles could be civilization tiles where you get a bunch of points for having sets of them. You get negative points if you don't get any. There are Nile tiles, which persist from scoring round to scoring round, but you have to get a different type of Nile tile called a flood tile to score them. There are point tiles. There are monument tiles that score at the end of the game. There are pharaoh tiles, which is like the majority holder of those gets points. So there's a competition with the players. And there's also even god tiles that allow you to just sort of sneak in and grab one tile out from somebody's nose without having to go into an auction. And so a lot of interesting scoring pieces going on there. But on your turn, if you don't put out a tile, you can actually start the auction by putting out the Ra figure. And then, everybody goes around and has a chance to bid with one of their 3 bid tiles. And the bid tile that ends up winning that auction, it goes into the middle of the board because in the pool of things you're bidding on is a bid tile. And so when you take those tiles that you win for that round, you also take the bid tile and you put it face down on your board because that's one of the tiles you're going to get to use in the next round for the auction in the next round. And so that is a really cool mechanism that you're bidding on the thing that you're going to be bidding with in the future. And also, you can draw out of the bag, you can draw out a Ra tile, which starts an auction. Nobody has to bid on it, but it can be interesting to see, what happens when that gets triggered. But also there's this push your luck mechanism because if you wait too long and enough Ra tiles come out of the bag, the round just ends, even if you haven't spent all your bid tiles and you didn't get the full amount of what you could get that round. So, auction, set collection, push your luck. I was really interested in playing this game. It was, like on the top of my list to play at the Dice Tower retreat. 1, because it's hard to find, and I knew it was in the library. And 2, because I think 25th Century Games is bringing this back. I think they're going to launch either a Kickstarter campaign or announce a pre-order or something for it in like January or February. So, I really wanted to play it to see. I love auction games to see. Should I get on the bandwagon with this one? And I'm totally on the bandwagon now.
I don't blame you, man. This is one of my favorite games. Like, it's probably not in my top 5 or whatever, but it's probably my favorite auction game. It's juicy. It's delicious. It's so simple, really, but all these different layers, like you were talking about, they just mesh really well together into this, like, I don't know, like the stew of suspense, basically, because you just never know when the round's going to end. And that goes so many different ways. I've seen it where you go almost the whole way through the bag. So there's all these auctions. Everybody gets these tiles. Alternatively, you just keep drawing Ra tiles out of the bag and all of a sudden round's over and only 2 people ended up getting anything and everybody else is going, oh, that's just great. And that you're like part of the bid structure in your mind is, well, I'm going to get that bid chip now. You nailed it, man. I think it's fantastic.
And I didn't even mention the disaster tiles, which add a whole other layer, right? A disaster tile could come out that says it's going to eliminate 2 civilization tiles for whoever takes this. So if you don't have any civilization tiles, big deal. Other people have already collected them. They don't want that. They're going to lose points for that. But you're like, all right, great, big deal. So it's got lots of layers. So, all right, you like Ra, but what was your game for the month?
Okay, so I'm going to cheat. I'm going to tell you right now I'm cheating.
It's not cheating.
My favorite game for the month is Gloomhaven. However, on Steam. Okay, so This is still, I'm cheating in a couple of ways in my own mind because it is my number one game ever. So I don't feel like it's right to go on every video and talk about how awesome Gloomhaven is. But at the same time, I was going to choose something else. And I was talking to Tiff and she was going to choose this in the event that she was going to do this. And I said, that's a great idea. We've been playing every other day, every day, like a couple of missions here and there. It's just fantastic. It is that game in a digital setting, which is very attractive to us at this point because we went through the overhead of that game for like a year and a half of getting all the tiles out and setting the stuff up. And quite frankly, the only complaint that I have about the game is how complex it is to figure out where the monsters move. Okay. And I studied that. Okay. So I'm at like 98% on what the monsters do. You know what I'm saying? So I can run that game, but we've given that game to good friends that are gamers. And at the end of the day, they're like, I just can't do the monsters. I'm like, I get it. It's hard. It's complicated. You have to have like a flow chart memorized in your mind. But you know what? We don't, because the computer does all that. All we have to do is play the game, and it's fantastic. I don't want to go on a whole rant about what Gloomhaven is. It's an adventure style game, but it's more of a puzzle because you have a hand of cards, and basically you play through them each once. And then you get them all back at the cost of a card. And some of the cards are very good, but you lose them forever when you play them. And this is your life. When you run out of this hand of cards, you're done. So it's way more like a puzzle, even though it's this huge grand like dungeon crawler with all these things going on and attacks and everything. It's really about how do I make these cards work to survive to the end of the scenario. And I know I said I wasn't going to go off on a whole tangent about it, but everybody knows I like to talk. So anyway, that's my game of the month is Gloomhaven on Steam.
Have you played Jaws of the Lion?
Yeah, we played through. Honestly, we didn't finish, but we did play through a bunch of it with some friends of ours. I think that's fantastic. I highly, highly, highly always recommend that to new people.
Does it have similar monster movement?
Well, yeah, it builds up is what it does.
Once you get past those, what is it, like the first 5 missions are like kind of the tutorial. Once you get past that, you need to go on BGG and download their monster questionnaire thing, and it basically is like a test, and it's like it keeps getting harder and harder and more edge case, and you're like, the monster is going to target. Okay, so number value. Okay, but it's crazy trying to figure out. We spend more time debating on what the monster is going to do than our own turns. So yes, the game.
And at the same time, you kind of need to know that because if you don't know what the monsters are going to do, you don't know what to do to beat them. So yeah, I agree. But yeah, on Steam, it just takes care of all that. Now at the same time, if you're not us that studied this and took these tests, you're not going to know what they do on Steam either. You know what I'm saying? But at least you don't have to worry about being the person moving them and doing the things that they're supposed to be doing.
Nice. All right. Well, Gloomhaven, Summer Camp, Raw. That's a pretty good spread of games right there, I have to say.
That's awesome.
And digital games is a valid life choice, buddy.
Yay! I belong.
All right. Well, I'm Steven. That's E-Rock. That's Lloyd. We're from Just Got Played. And if you enjoyed this video, give it a like, give us a comment, feed the YouTube algorithm. And if you want to see more of our videos, click the subscribe button. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.